Next up, we have Hristina Racheva, the head of localization from Skyscanner. And she's going to be presenting how to thrive in a crisis. Again, coming back to that key word, relevancy. So again, it's so relevant how a company went through the pandemic and, with the domains and industries they were serving, how they actually had to strategize and overcome the pandemic, and not only just overcome, but learn to thrive and actually grow their company during that period. So we're going to have Hristina join us momentarily. Are you still muted?
Yeah.
Hi there, how you doing?
Great, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm so happy that you could join us for the presentation. I'm looking forward to it, and I know a lot of others are as well. So again, I think you've got all the secret sauce that you're going to tell everybody about. So what I'm going to do is turn it over to you, hop back in towards the end of your time, and then we'll go through any Q&A you might have.
All right, great, thanks. I'll
All
start
right.
setting up my screen. Just if you can let me know once it's working.
Absolutely, and I'll hop out as soon as that's done. There we go.
Set it up. And also, in very true fashion of live performances, someone upstairs started drilling. So if you hear any noise, let me know, and I can try to put my headphones in case it's too loud. All right, you can see the screen well, hear me well as well?
Yep, you're coming through loud and clear, and I can see the screen.
All right, great. All right, well, hi everyone. I'm Hristina from Skyscanner, and today I will talk a bit about how we've gone through the last year, what Brian just mentioned, to thrive in a crisis, or actually to continue thriving in the existing crisis, because as we know, we are still in this situation. But before we dive into this, I'll just do like a very high level, quick introduction of the localization setup at Skyscanner. So we are available in 35 languages. We have a team of 7 project managers and localization managers. We also have 5 internationalization engineers, and we are spread in 4 different offices. And as crazy as it sounds, actually last year has been probably one of the most successful and efficient years for us within the localization team. And I'll touch a bit on that as well later in the presentation. So that's the localization overview at Skyscanner. Let's just dive into our topic. As you know, travel alongside other industries has been really impacted, if not probably the most impacted industries as of the situation. And throughout the year, it's crazy that it's actually almost a year now, we've learned a lot. We've done a lot of things at Skyscanner, and I thought it would be great to share some of those learnings, but also because hopefully you see that these are learnings and lessons that can be applied for any organization independent of the industry and also in any crisis. However, I hope that once we are out of COVID, we won't be seeing any major global crisis later as well. And more than ever before, this situation has proven that it's critical to work closer as an organization, as a team, to not just deliver things faster, but also to support each other. So let's start first with a year ago, in January 2020. It was quite a great beginning to the year for us at Skyscanner. Just a few months before that, we had a massive milestone. We've celebrated having 100 million monthly users a month, which was a really amazing achievement for us as a team, as a company. And in January, we gathered for the first time the whole company, about 1,500 employees, on a company event in London, employees from 10 different offices. And it was such an energizing experience to get everyone together and to spend 3 days together. The goal for that event was, on one hand, to celebrate our achievements, our successes over the last maybe year or two, but also to get ready for the future. We had our kind of recently updated strategy, and it was so ambitious, and we were just ready to take on the travel world and do even better things. And interestingly, I think it's quite actually almost shocking looking back, but the title of this event was Beyond 2020. Our goal was to set up ourselves as a company beyond that year. And it just feels like a bit of a visionary title or name. where obviously everyone in the world have struggled to get beyond 2020. Luckily, we are here today. So what happens a year later? Where are we at Skyscanner a year later? Unfortunately, just like many other companies, not just in travel, but other industries, we did have to lay off a certain number of our employees, especially at the beginning of the crisis. As a result of that, we also closed a few offices and also to centralize a bit more our teams, because as I mentioned, we had 10 offices around the world from Miami to Tokyo. So these are some of the unfortunate things that have happened. However, a few months after the beginning of the situation with COVID, we started really kind of striving and doing so many different things to manage the situation. Some of those are we launched new products, new features, starting from late summer until today. And we're also hiring again. If anyone is looking for roles in product management, UX design, engineering, we are hiring as well. So not only have we managed to keep as an organization, as teams stronger, but we are starting to see that recovery that we've been seeing or hoping for. So what is it that got us here and that is setting up us for the future? There are three things that we'll look at today, and these are the three key things that I think any company, any organization can use to thrive and not just survive in any crisis. The first one is to stay true to its values and what's important for them, for the organization. Second, put its users first. And last but not least, take care of its employees. So these will be a few examples that I will look at what we've done in particularly at Skyscanner. The first one, from the very beginning, especially of the situations that it started developing, was critical to connect with our travelers, but also understand their needs as we go through the situation. Second, we built products, completely new, different products and features to respond to those needs of the travelers, but also of our partners, as they're critical for us as well. And again, last but not least, something that has been from the beginning until today, to support our employees. If I have to choose one of our values within Skyscanner, this will be the one that stands more to me and one that has been the longest with us. And what we mean by that is in everything that we do, we put our travelers first, then we put our partners, and last our Skyscanner as an organization. And the way we live that and the way that we see that expressed is in everything that we do, we ask ourselves, is this the right thing for our travelers? How is this going to impact our travelers? So it's one of our strongest values and our strongest approach with decision making. So that's why it was really important, again, to connect with the users, the travelers, and understand their needs. So what did we do and how did this happen? The part where we connected. So as early in the situation around March and April, when was the biggest almost like shock as within for everyone around the world, when people couldn't travel, there were cancellations, people couldn't get back home, they lost their money, they lost their tickets. So the immediate reaction and the immediate actions that we had from our side was to help travelers that were stuck, that were impacted by the situation. So in any way that we could, initially through in our communication and marketing approach, that was to inform what's the situation, to inform what their rights are, to inform them how to get either their money back or to change their flights. And then just a few weeks later, as the situation started somewhat settling, the key kind of focus for us was to empathize, to really show that we understand how difficult that time is. We ourselves, a traveler, we are impacted. So it was really that empathizing with everyone in that situation. And then as weeks went by, we probably all remember how the first few weeks of lockdown, we felt bored and stuck at home. Some of our marketing approach was to almost inform and entertain. So we were creating content around Spotify travel lists, playlists, or content like travel from home, being able to watch live cameras from around the world, or museums from around the world. So content that would keep users engaged. And really the key thing was here to support everyone, our users, but also to keep us on top of their minds and be with them throughout the situation. And of course, as a result of that, the goal wasn't through this marketing and communication approach, the goal wasn't to drive revenue, to drive purchases and buying, right? Because no one was able to do that, to travel. The goal was really to connect. And we found out that a few months later, as we were analyzing our performance, especially of our social media and content, we found that we had at that point the highest engagement among other travel brands, which really showed that our work was really, we were able to connect and reach our travelers. And then the next part was understanding, especially as the situation was changing. It was important to understand how is everyone feeling. So what we started doing from the beginning until today, we ran regular global surveys from around the world to understand from our few key markets, to understand how people in general feel about traveling. Are they likely to travel again? When are they likely to travel again? And the interesting part where, that kind of brings us back to localization is that being able or doing those kind of surveys and investigation per market or per region. And this is where we started seeing differences as different regions were recovering at different rates and different travel distances were possible. We also developed, based on this data, but also external data, we developed an internal data tool through which we're able then to make informed decisions, which is very critical for the situation that is changing on a daily basis or weekly basis and continues for the whole year, right? So what do we use this data and these insights for? We're able to plan our campaigns based on readiness or willingness to travel. Have campaigns and market content and promotion content only in markets where people are willing to travel, where there's possibility to travel, so really targeted. And also to support our partners with these insights for them to make decisions. And I think the key word, just like the topic of our the whole day-to-day is that collaboration and that working together, because this wouldn't have been possible within that collaboration within the whole organization, and also relying on our external partners, translation partners, freelancers, and agency to really be able to respond as quickly as possible within that volume and that constant changes. Another key for collaboration is, as the situation was developing and changing so quickly, we've done a lot of effort to set up processes and strict timelines and tools and how to our stakeholders would request content. But at this point, it wasn't important anymore that things need to be done in a structured way and within timelines and the approach that we would have been asking for in the past. We were there to support our teams, marketing, user research teams, who are also almost like running around against the clock. So this is the part where going back to connecting, supporting travelers, users, and responding to their needs. So how do we respond to those needs? Is by building products that were relevant to the current situation. One thing that we are certain about and we are confident within Skyscanner is that travel will return. We all cannot wait to travel. Everyone that we speak to, and probably all of you guys here on the call today, we cannot wait to go back to travel. However, we can't deny that the situation and the circumstances would be different. What would that traveling look like in the right now, in the near future, in the long-term future? So we're trying to ask ourselves, how can we help travelers navigate this environment? How can we give them that peace of mind when they travel, that can actually enjoy the experience? So these were the questions that we're asking ourselves, and this is what has led us to developing two quite revolutionary almost products and features. The first one is our map, where can I go, with our name, internal name to the map. And what this map allows us, we started working on this probably towards the end of the summer, and it has already undergone a few iterations. But what really this allows users is, for example, for me, I'm based in Barcelona, and I can start living from Barcelona, from my origin here. Where can I go? Which countries are open? What are the type of restrictions within each of those countries? And what do I need to do if I want to go to a specific country? What do I need to have in mind? And this is incredibly complex product, complex solution, because all of this content that provides this information around restrictions and limitations and requirements is a content that we take from a third-party provider. This is a travel authority. And this comes in the form of, right, we have 200 countries, and for each of those countries, or roughly 200 countries in the world, and for each of these countries, we get this content on the restrictions. And it's possible that as well that we get that on a daily basis. Some of these restrictions would change, so the content needs to be updated. So we had to make a decision, how can we, all of this content about 200 snippets, paragraphs of information, changing potentially on a daily basis, having to translate that in 35 languages, was it worth the cost? Were we even going to be able to do that as the situation develops? So we made a decision together with the product team to do that through machine translation. We integrated the Google API on the fly. So as we were showing this content to our travelers, the content was already pre-translated through machine translation, and they would have been able, if they wanted to switch back to English. And of course, we all know machine translation is not always great, and it's not, especially for maybe product content. But again, this was the only solution that we were going to be able to do in such a time constraint. And interestingly, we, as a side effect, we're also looking at data for things like the number of travelers, the users, that maybe if they see the machine translation, they will switch back to English. And looking at maybe per language and informing us, is the machine translation maybe bad, that users would rather use English, or is it maybe that level of fluency in certain countries is fine and people prefer English anyway? So as a side kind of effect, or we're using this to gather different insights. And the next product that we launched, which just happened just before Christmas, was the first COVID-19 travel protection. So we were able to partner again with a third-party insurance provider. And if users would buy flights or tickets or any other hotels through us, we were able to then add that as an add-on for them to get that extra protection. And again, the localization team played a key part here, because not just translating the content and the product from our perspective, but we also worked very closely with this third-party provider of the insurance to support them in their localization, as they had much less markets than us. Another interesting thing that we did here was working closely with our user research and product marketing teams, where we launched surveys to understand traveler perception per market when it comes to insurance. What do users care about when they buy an insurance? What's more important to them? And based on that, the long-term goal is to be able to adjust either the product or the messaging per market based on these perceptions through the survey. So that was a bit on our products and what was it that we did to respond to those needs. And again, it was a cross-company collaboration where teams had to reshuffle and get together, or leave behind some of their priorities to be able to focus on these very key products for us and for the travelers in this situation. And the last thing we'll look at is looking and supporting employees and the team. So I'll focus first on general the support that we got from our leadership team from the very beginning. The team was absolutely transparent. In general, we have this culture of transparency within the company, but even in this situation, there was complete transparency about the severity of the situation, the potential impact that was having on us, the potential solutions and measures that the leadership team was looking at. And we had like different level of support from managers, especially at the beginning. We had the weekly catch-ups. Managers had a weekly catch-up with the CEO and other leadership, where we could understand better the situation so we can support better our teams. And something amazing, I think quite unique to our team and company, has been since the beginning until today, we have what we call this Your Choice time. It's a block of 4 hours every single day, 4 hours in the afternoon. All of our employees get the time to do whatever it is for them, to either to take care of their families, of their kids, of maybe of a parent, of anyone that's reliant on them, but also to take care of ourselves. If it means to go out and do my grocery shopping, or to take a long lunch break and go to the gym. But that 4 hours, we don't have meetings and we can do anything that we need to. And it's quite amazing to have that support and that space. So that has been that care, that genuine care throughout the situation from the leadership team towards everyone within the company, of understanding and support. And when it comes to the localization team, this is the part where I mentioned we've had quite an amazingly successful year, but also such a challenging year at the same time. It was literally the first week or two of the COVID restrictions in all the countries where we had 4 new members join our team. And it was pretty intense because, onboarding people remotely, it's something that we as teams are usually remotely, so it hasn't been the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge was kind of assuring people that have just joined a company that's the most impacted as the situation, and assuring them that whatever happens, we're together as a team, and that we have that faith in our organization and our leadership team, and just bringing them that assurance, especially through the first few months, and also creating that team spirit. And then again, something that happened for us and was super critical was that collaboration and flexibility between ourselves, and that understanding that, there are a lot of changes that are happening, and we needed to respond very quickly to within the company, and the changing priorities, and the changing focus. And we had to, obviously we had our own OKRs, we had our own focus and plans for the quarter, but then based on that changes in the organization, we had to quickly adjust and just focus somewhere else. But also the key thing learning for me as a lead of the team, and as our team as a whole, was that leaning in on the vulnerability and being open and honest. It was incredibly hard, as a lead, anyone that is responsible to take care of a team and to lead a team, is to provide that assurance, while at the same time you don't know really if that's if you can promise anything, or if you can know what's going to happen next. And being open and honest, saying that, what, maybe today we don't need to worry, or this week let's not worry about our next week's focus, and let's just focus on how we all feel, and let's just take time for each other and have these open conversations. And it's quite a powerful feeling when, especially the leads or different senior people with the team, when they are open and they're vulnerable, and that just allows everyone else on the team to be so. And it was quite amazing because we run yearly surveys, company culture surveys, and this year we actually had two, and both times the kind of the perception, the feedback, and the feeling from the team, we score about 30% higher than the average in the company. So despite the challenging year that we've been through, it's been quite a bonding experience for us as a team. So this is it. There you have it, the 3 key things that anyone, any organization, any team can take and be able not to just survive and thrive, but thrive in such situation. And this is, know what your values are and stay true to them no matter what. Put your users first, and always take care of the employees, and in any way that's true for you. And that was our learnings. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I think that a lot of people can relate, and just the fact that we've gone through this pandemic now, it's so destabilizing for all the members of the staff, our colleagues, and I think being truthful with them and living in the moment, as you said, is really important. Your presentation did generate quite a few questions, so we're going to hop over to those if you don't mind. So the first one is from Yulia Brimistrova. How much of the localization personnel did Skyscanner have to lay off during the crisis?
Yeah, we actually only had to lay off one person because they were based in the Skyscanner in the Singapore office, and it was more that was also the project our leadership team took. Instead of laying off certain disciplines or certain level, it was more like we better close an office, and unfortunately the people who were in that office had to be let go just because we wanted to centralize our teams. Being in 10 offices was really challenging even before that. So that's why we lost someone from Singapore. We also later lost a few members who just left the team or left the company throughout the situation.
Okay, I have actually seen quite a few people shifting roles during the pandemic as well. I was quite surprised. I thought people would look for stability and hold on to their roles, and yet there was almost actually a lot of opportunity for people, and they kind of started jumping ship and going elsewhere. So I definitely understand that. Another question that we have is from Irene. I don't have a surname, so it's just Irene. Did you introduce any new staff performance assessment measures to account for the new routine?
Great question. Actually, no. What we did, we removed our regular evaluation process. So we do that twice a year, and we had our like regular one at the beginning of 2020, and then we didn't do any evaluation, any performance review for the whole of the year until the end, towards December and 2020. So we decided that, it was important, and that was the message from our chief people officer at the beginning, is just do whatever you can, whatever anyone can, whenever it's possible for you in that situation. So we actually removed all the evaluation. We didn't stop, for example, taking feedback and collecting feedback, because we wanted to just, for our own performance and our own awareness, what we're doing well or not, but it wasn't official, and we didn't have that performance
Right.
review.
I think it's a good approach. I mean, naturally, you want to ensure that you're continuing to develop and get feedback from colleagues and do the 360s and things like that. So I can definitely see that. But the removing the I guess the official assessments is probably removed a lot of stress from the individuals as well. So one additional question that's come in from Sam Chandler: which languages saw an uptick in the translation volumes during the pandemic?
We didn't see an uptake. What we did is particularly, so we have our products in the 35 languages by default. What we did a bit more differently was our marketing content. We had like a different set of languages based on the types of campaign. And exactly because I was sharing at the beginning, is different countries were at a different stage of their recovery. So different campaigns and different content was based on that. So it could get a bit chaotic when you're trying to, to handle several different campaigns for different sets of markets.
Okay. Teresa Toronjo, we have a question that did you have any issues when you implemented MT in the map application you shared?
We had very interesting issue was with geo translation. So actually quite a fascinating example. We had a complaint from a user, if I'm not mistaken, in Korea. Yeah, in Korea, that the translation for the country of Korea through the Google Translate was translating something as kind of a territory of China. And that's even though the source wasn't saying that, the translation through Google Translate was coming as that. And obviously this is quite, when it comes to geopolitical issues, it's quite problematic. And we were able to fix that through the back end, but interestingly it kept coming up. So there was also a problem with translation of the Russian country name. So yeah.
So there were issues.
On our toes.
All right. And we only have 1 minute left, so we'll just
Yeah.
grab one last question from Jorian Corver. We have, what's your view on working from home versus working in the office post-pandemic? Is Skyscanner considering becoming a work from anywhere company?
My view is I hate it. I absolutely hate working from home. I like a really strong view. Even before we had this complete flexibility, we could work as much as we wanted from home. I never did it. I really miss the environment, not just my team, but the team, the other teams within the office. But yeah, we are shifting now. For example, for the rest of 2021, anyone can work from anywhere, even if we get back to an office, because we don't know what's going to happen. And the team indeed actually is looking for the long-term approach if we are going to transition into fully remotely. At this point, they haven't made a decision, but for the rest of the year, we can.
Great. And I think that was the best timed presentation we had, because it
I was
finished
being
right
super-
at 1 second before the time. So I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time with us today. I really appreciate it. And I wish you well. I'll definitely be connecting on LinkedIn if we're not already connected. And I wish you well. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Good luck for the rest of the sessions.
Thank you very much.
Bye.